Last day of July. It's been a great July. My goodness, what a bull market. And Mark's got your perspective for today. Mark, how are you today, buddy?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
Wonderful.
Morning there, Savage. Yeah, wow, dude. July 31st. Amazing.
I know. It's been a
Time
good July too.
time sure goes by quick here. All right, let's just take a quick look at the headlines. Um, we'll go over a look at the Wall Street Journal here. Oh yeah, so anyway, so this yellow shut down, and this is kind of what I've been saying. That like my wife and I have this discussion, whether that's Yellow Pages. Wow, look at that, Yellow Pages. I don't even know that still existed.
Yeah, they're garbage. Too expensive. They were
Traded
always too expensive.
449 shares on Friday. Um, but actually, let me bring it up first here. Yellow. There we go. Yellow Corporation. Here's the thing, right? They went to the well too many times, and the well has run dry. So we know that a couple weeks ago, Yellow missed a pension payment. And of course, the unions go in there and they negotiate hard, and they're like, whatever, dude, we need our money. So guess what? So now the company declared bankruptcy and it's out of business, and now no one's getting anything.
Yep.
So, that's what happened. Like, my brother's a cop, right? Sorry, I got my big bottle of water. And they don't have pensions anymore. They have 401k plans. So, there's these people that are going under this. Yeah, cool. So people are kind of going under this premise that, I get my pension and it's guaranteed forever. And here's the thing, you put money in a pension, right? And I think, I don't know where I came up with this number, but I think your average pension plan needs to return 9% a year in order to meet their obligations. And, that might sound not that hard to do in an up market, but when the market starts to go down, gaining 9% is not an easy thing to do. And you have people living longer. You have people in some of these municipalities retiring when they're like 50 years old or 55 years old. Like, we have a friend who worked for the Long Island Railroad, and he retired at probably about 58 or 59. This is about 10 years ago. The dude gets full salary. His pension is his full salary. So he makes just as much money now as he did 15 years ago, and he doesn't work anymore. And the thing is this cannot go on forever. All right. So these people that think like, I got this pension, I'm set for life. No, don't think so. But look at what happened with Yellow. It's a perfect example. So what is the answer? Well, the answer is they got to raise the retirement age. It's like when they first came up with Social Security back in the New Deal, your typical person, your average person did not live long enough to get it. Now it's supposed to be like 100. And if you recall, in France, I don't know, a month or two ago, they wanted to raise the retirement age, and there were the riots and so forth.
Yeah, it was about 3 months ago, and then when the police killed that kid, that really set it off. France is still on fire, I believe.
Really, but it's just this it's just a sense of entitlement. Now, I will tell you this. Now, listen, I'm not a union basher, but I do think that a lot of union people that I've known are entitled. And now, when I was in college, I worked as a security guard, and this was kind of one of the pivotal. I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but this is one of the pivotal things in my life where I really was like, wow. So I worked for Burlington Coat Factory, which is now Burlington. I was a security guard, and we had these like sales where they would rent out a room in a convention center, and they would have like a sale. It was like they would make it a store for like 3 days. They bring in all the clothes. We did them at Madison Square Garden, Nassau Coliseum. Anyway, we're at Nassau Coliseum, and my job with my partner Bernard, who is one of the other security guards, is our job was to watch the Teamsters to make sure they don't steal stuff, because they'll friggin' rob you blind. And they have to unload the trucks. You're not allowed to touch anything, right? If it's at one of these places like the Garden or Nassau Coliseum, you have to let the Teamsters do it. You're not even allowed to touch them. So anyway, this was probably 1990, and remember those like big down goose coats were like popular. So this guy's got this armful of these white down goose coats, and he's walking them from the truck over to like the rack where you got to hang them up, and then we roll them out onto the floor. So he gets this armful, maybe 5 or 6 down coats, and he starts walking, and he's literally about 10 feet from the rack, and it's like whistle blows, it's like coffee break. The dude just puts them right down on the ground, right on the dirty loading dock floor, and they all got grease and dirt on them and everything. And I remember just thinking, like, it would have literally taken this guy an extra 2 seconds, dude, to walk another 6 feet and put him on the rack.
Yeah.
There's just no, you're not allowed to work hard because then you make other people look bad. And then another time we were at Madison Square Garden, and I'm a college kid. I'm naive. I didn't know what was going on. Where we were supposed to set up these coats, there was an extension cord laying on the ground. So I picked up the extension cord and I moved it over and I put it on this chair. About 10 minutes later, this guy comes out and starts screaming at my father, because my father was the head of operations, which is why I was working there. He's like, "You guys are taking work from us. That's not right. This is bullshit, blah, 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 blah." So I had to take the extension cord off the chair, put it back on the floor, like about 10 feet away. And we had to wait for a union electrician to come out and move the extension cord. And that took about 2 hours. So we basically just sat there and did nothing. The guy comes out, he takes the extension cord and he puts it on the chair right where I had it. And, it was like a Saturday. And so the dude's getting like double time. So anyway, so right there, I was like, look, man, I believe in worker rights and this or that, but it's like, come on, man, it's like you're so entitled, and it's like so un-American to like not work hard. And what gets me is when these union guys are just like, oh, people on Wall Street don't work hard. Remember when Occupy Wall Street was a big thing, and they all went to Goldman Sachs at 9 o'clock to protest, and they were surprised that, like, where is everyone? It's 9 o'clock. So yeah, no, because people at Goldman Sachs get into work at like 6 or 7. You know what I mean? It's not a 9 to 5 job. Wall Street is not a 9 to 5 job, man. I haven't had a day off in 3 decades because every day I look at the market.
Yeah,
So
but you know what? In business, it's not, you're never off either. I mean, I hear people complain all the time. Oh, I got to go do this. I got to go do that. Man, I have been at work since the day I started, and I don't ever plan to stop. Even if I'm semi-retired or retired, I'm always going to go find a way to hustle up a buck. I just like it.
It's just embarrassing to have such little, integrity or pride in what you do, that you're just going to put down a bunch of white coats on the floor just to, like, make a point. Oh, like, oh, it's coffee break time. They legally get a coffee break. I mean, I'm someone who worked on a trading desk for 20 years, dude. I never even had a lunch hour. I was like, you know what you do on lunch? You go get food and you bring it back to your desk because the market's open.
Well, that's what's wrong with the unions, Mark, is that the unions are completely entitled. They pay this fee every week out of their paycheck. So they feel like they've got this big, giant collective bargaining behind them, which they actually do. And then they go in here to deal with this management, or the politicians will step in, and all they're after is votes. And they force the company to do this. Well, the company already can't afford it. So hence you get what you have here with Yellow. And it happens all the time.
Yeah. You go to the well too much, the well runs dry, and that's it, man.
That's it. And regretfully, employees are the biggest expense on an organization, no matter what. That's why everybody wants to have robots. I mean, can you imagine? It's like this little flipping machine they've got that makes burgers in a burger joint. They're using them in Crystals down here, I believe, or in White Castle in Florida here. And so this robot, it's called Flippy. It cooks the food perfect. It flips the burgers perfect. It does everything but bag it. All right, you have to have one person to bag it and one person to take the order, and the robot runs the entire office for $60,000. You grease him up every night, you clean him down, and you don't ever have to pay workman's comp. You don't have to worry about somebody not showing up for work, and you have to. I mean, my goodness, a maintenance contract on that thing will save you thousands of dollars a month.
Well, bro, I've been working hard for my entire life, and when I see these people that are just self-entitled, it's like, oh, I legally have to take a coffee break. It's like, are you kidding me? So the whistle blows, and it's like, oh, let me just throw these coats on the ground and ruin them. I don't care. I have the right to my coffee break. I can't work an extra 3 seconds and move the coats over and put them on a table.
Well, have you ever heard about this new trend called lazy girl job? Have you heard that yet?
I've heard it. I don't know what it is, but
boy, I watched the thing the other day. It's like a 3-minute video on it, and this is ridiculous. They want a job where they can get up and do whatever they want. They can go for a walk whenever they want it. They can go shopping whenever they want it. They want a job that allows them just to do their life normally, but they get paid for it.
Yeah, it's the sense of entitlement. That's why a lot of times, if you'll notice, people that really love America, a lot of them aren't Americans. They're immigrants that come over here
Yeah,
and actually work, and they're not here just to get free stuff.
because
You
they
know,
see the opportunity that America provides to people. And we have that opportunity. It's just Americans refuse to take the opportunity anymore.
well, people are spoiled. People are self-entitled.
Lazy. Yes.
People think, all right, well, I joined a union, therefore I get my coffee break. It's just so you get these people that come over here that wherever they're coming from, they have no opportunity, and they come here and they work, and they actually like this country better than a lot of the people that are born here because they realize how good they have it. I used to get
Yep.
this a lot when I worked in the city, and I would get car services home after going out to dinner or whatever, and a lot of it kind of changed. Like it got to a time there where like pretty much everyone who drove me home was Russian, right? And like some of these guys were like engineers, like they had like a lot of degrees and were educated, but they came over here and it's like they're friggin' driving cars, and it's like, you know what, they're doing it with pride, and they're doing it with pride, and they're happy. But it just really bothers me because you get all these guys that are sitting around thinking like, oh, the people that wear suits to work don't work. Like I've heard that before, because don't forget, I spent time as a garbage man. I've seen every part of the prism of the different workforces. And there are literally people out there that think if you wear a suit to work that you don't work. I mean, of course, people don't really wear suits anymore, but people on Wall Street are like the hardest working people that I've ever seen. It's almost like they work too hard. There's too much ambition. It's too competitive. But
It's cutthroat.
anyway, it just makes me angry that all these people are out of work now because like what did they want? What do they got to have their neighbor's butcher's birthday off now? It's like, give me a friggin' break, man.
And the union pilot packages are so rich, man. Good Lord, when you can take almost a whole month off of work for some of these union jobs, it's amazing.
Well, I just think it's really a shame that I mean, there's nothing wrong with working hard, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, no one owes you anything, man. So
Not to keep beating a dead horse, but that's why I always worked when I work for myself. Like if I get a raise at my job, right, and I'm an independent business owner, I've got to create a 12% increase in my business to get a 3% increase because I've got taxes and everything else that goes along with it. But they don't have to do that. All they have to do is complain in mass, and they get a raise, which takes from the company that's trying to survive when economic downturn. You've got this yellow company. My God, just the fuel alone for those trucks and the insurance and everything else that goes up with trucking and what they're trying to do with the industry, man, they're better off shutting the doors and selling their assets.
yeah, well, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, oh yeah, so Charles Sumner, I sent you the slides. You think you could
Yeah, I'm working on his voice still. I've got to get it just right.
all right, yeah.
But I'll have it
Anyway,
to you today.
let me just, I think I put it out on Twitter. Let me just see here.
Dude, man, that was crazy what that guy did to him. Of course, he said some pretty heinous stuff about us. And as a Southerner, I can see where they would take that to heart. But to bludgeon him like that with a cane, that's crazy.
Dude, have you really looked at this picture?
No, I didn't see this picture.
This is the cover. Oh, maybe I didn't send this to you because
You didn't send me the cover, no.
So these are in the 1850s, right? People started flooding into Kansas. They called it Bleeding Kansas. And it was like the people from the South were coming in because it was all about, is it going to be a free state or is it going to be a slavery state?
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost like a state civil war. And that's where like John Brown came from. This might even be John Brown. I'm not sure. Look at these, dude. Look at the faces of these guys. You want to talk about some hard mothers here. I mean, look at these guys, man. And these are not
Yeah.
actors. Look at what these guys had to go through. They didn't have plumbing. They didn't have medicine. They didn't have electricity, and I mean, these are just some freaking scary looking dudes, man. Jesus, look at them, man. Wow.
Well, the one guy's got a damn sword. Look at him.
Yeah, it was a war. I mean, they were skinning people. They were burning people alive. So these were the anti-slavery men, and they fought against, obviously, the slavery men. But I don't know. When I brought up this picture, I looked at it for like 20 minutes, and I was just like, look at how friggin' hard these dudes look. You would not want to. This dude probably weighs 130 pounds, and he'd probably kick my ass, and I weigh about 250. You know,
You know what though, Mark? These people actually had to work to live. They had to go out and find their food. They had to go out and get their water. They had to figure out how to make their water to where they could eat it and drink it and all of it. I mean, all these people lived. What we have now is this soft little society that, man, when the electricity goes out, we've got trouble in this country, in the world.
I know, man. Those are some hard dudes right there. All right.
Yes,
So anyway,
sir.
let's go see what's going on in the market. Um, looks pretty darn quiet again. What's going? Yeah, the S&P's up by 16 basis points. Now on Friday we had a pretty big move higher. Okay, up about 1%. But what's really important to notice is that this is Thursday, and this is where we opened on Thursday. So on Friday, even though we were up, we're still below the prior day's close. I mean, sorry, open. So that's kind of important. Um, After a big move like this, it's not unusual to have a little bit of a bounce back. But what's important to watch is when you're trading short term is where does stuff open and close and where are the prior openings and closes. So we're still below Thursday's close, so this could be the beginning of a new downtrend. So that's SPY. And then the whole thing over here in the tech sector remains the same. We're still watching this 177 level, and we're trading up about 15 basis points, but that's really nothing. I still think that we're going lower, but
Yeah.
we can see here, what was resistance back in 21 became resistance again, and then it converted into support. So resistance becomes support because there are people who sold up here who, once the market goes lower, they're like, yeah, that was great, man. But then when the market goes higher, a lot of these people who sold tell themselves, man, I made a mistake. I want to buy my shares back, but I'm only going to do it if I get them for the same price I sold them at. So if you have enough of these remorseful sellers placing buy orders, what was resistance turns into support. And that's what happened here. And we could see that. And, once again, they took the arrow away for some reason, which I don't know why, but I can just copy this arrow and do this. And if you could see, we're in a downtrend. Like, look at where Friday's closing price was. It was lower than Thursday's opening price. So remember, opens and closes are very important to watch in the short term. So that's the tech sector. The second biggest sector is healthcare. And this is kind of stalled out. We can see this isn't really doing anything this morning. So even though we had a decent move higher, I don't think it's really a game changer. And sometimes you can have little moves that are important. Sometimes you could have kind of big moves that are not important. What's an important day or what's an important move? Well, when a support level is broken, resistance is broken, a trend is broken, sometimes stuff is just range bound, and it's from a technical point of view, like down here, it's not really that important. But sometimes we have a little move that could be important. All right. So anyway, so this is healthcare. So we can see we're at resistance, right? Resistance here. Now there's resistance at former resistance levels because of psychology. And I know Sean was asking about psychology. Why would there be resistance at the same level that was resistance, 4 months ago? And if you think about it, how could this possibly be? How is it possible that the healthcare sector has the exact same valuation now as it did back in April? And the answer is it's because the market's driven by psychology. There's people who bought up here and, it's like, oh, I bought at the peak, the market goes lower. And they tell themselves, man, if this gets back up to where I bought it, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to get out at break even. So you have these remorseful buyers placing sell orders at the level that was resistance before. If you have enough of them, the level that was resistance before becomes resistance again. Remember, resistance is a large group of sell orders. So if you have enough remorseful buyers placing sell orders, it becomes resistance again. This is why we need to understand that in the market, it's just a fact that some levels are more important than others. And sometimes we know why, and sometimes we don't. And why is this level 135.75 so important? I mean, I don't know. Why isn't it 134.75? Why isn't it 136.75? The answer is I don't know. But I do know why resistance is here, and it's because it was resistance back here. All right. So if you really want to be a good trader, you have to know where these price levels are, whenever it is that you're trading. Now, how do you find important price levels? Well, just look back to the left because you're looking back in time and just see like where were the prior tops, where were the prior bottoms, the peaks. So like if healthcare eventually rallies, and I'm sure it will between now and like when we die, sooner or later it'll probably go higher. There's probably going to be resistance right around here, this former peak, for the same reason we just talked about. So this is 141. Now, obviously, we're not going to get there today, but eventually we're going to get up there, and there's probably going to be resistance there. If we go lower, where are we going to have support? Well, we see here a resistance level here, right? And we know resistance can turn into support because of our seller's remorse. So if we're going lower, there's probably going to be some support here. So now if you're thinking about buying a healthcare stock, remember we're looking at the healthcare industry here. It's like, all right, well, you know what? There's really no pressing need right now to pull the trigger and go ahead and buy it. It looks like we're kind of neutral, but we're under resistance. So if I was considering buying healthcare stocks, or if I was considering buying this ETF, I would probably just kind of be on the sidelines and just wait. If it looks like it's going to start to break out, then I'll jump in. But I think the odds are that it's going to go lower. And if we got down to around here, a former resistance level, that's where I would consider buying. So this is letting the market tell you what to do. If something is neutral, it's like you can wait. You don't really need to feel a sense of urgency. But if something is breaking out, or if something is getting to support, and you want to buy, that's where you got to have the sense of urgency. So sometimes sometimes you need to act, and sometimes you can kind of just stay on the sidelines. And one of the biggest problems that I see with newer traders is that they overtrade. They feel as though they always need to be in the market. They feel as though they always need to be doing something. And that's just not the case. A lot of times, if nothing's going on, it's like, hey, you don't need to trade. You can take the day off. People feel like they're going to miss out. What's one of the worst things a newer trader can do, or any trader of any experience level for that matter, is if you lose money, then you kind of come in the next day and you're like a little panicked, and you try to trade your way out of it. Like, I guess they call it like revenge trading. And, that's a pretty sure way to lose money. Remember, trading successfully is all about psychology. And I love this quote, I'm paraphrasing, but Jesse Livermore was this great trader back in the 1920s. And he said he made his money not by being in the market. He made his money by being out of the market. And what I think he meant by that was he was able to stay on the sidelines and wait until he saw something that was really compelling and then jump in. I mean, if you really think about it, you could outperform the market by trading, 4 or 5 days a year. If you just wait for the big bottoms, you wait for the big tops. I'm not advocating that you do that, but sometimes it's like Mr. Stevens says, and I don't think he's here this morning, but you got to fish when the fish are biting, right? If the fish aren't biting, then you ain't going to catch anything. But if the fish are biting, well, that's when it's time to act. Instead of having one line, you throw in 2 lines. There's this pond by where I live, and I've lived in this house for 12 years, and I've never seen anyone catch a single fish in the pond. And I always see people down there. And what happens is the otters come along, and the otters go into the water, and they just clean out all the fish, man. And and that's it. So I don't know why I'm talking about that. All right, so let's go to our financial sector. That's the next important thing to watch.
It's the same thing down here. If you see an alligator in your favorite fishing hole, you might as well come back next week. He's ate everything.
I saw the news, dude, that there's like the water's like 100 degrees in some places in Florida.
Oh, I haven't. Well, I mean, I know my pool gets pretty damn hot by the end of the day, but yeah, I mean, it's hot, but I don't think it's 100 degrees. And
they said it was like Manatee Bay, where the water's only 6 feet deep.
I don't know. I have to look at that. The water flows. If the water's flowing, it's going to stay a constant temperature. It's not going to be like, it had to be a stagnant, like a pond. Maybe that's 6 foot deep would get that hot. But if it's got ocean current going to it, or current at all, it's going to be the temperature of the surrounding water, not I mean, it's not that hot, Mark, it's not that hot. It really isn't. I mean, I know we got a hot summer this year, but you need to watch that video that Steven sent us on Sunday. That guy lays out all the hot trends and the people that would walk outside, and it killed man and beast this year in 9/12. I mean, we've been having this constant cycles of hot and cold forever. And I'm not saying we're not doing damage to the earth at all. You're right.
Well,
No,
here's the
but
thing, man. It's like I'm all about a clean environment, and as everyone is, but if this was 20,000 years ago, I'd be under 700 feet of ice,
yep,
because of the ice
yep,
age, and
that's right.
somehow the Earth warmed up. And there was a scientist who wrote about this. His name was Malindroit. I think I should write it down because I was reading about it. But he talked about different cycles and why the Earth warms up and why the Earth cools. Like for example, the Romans used to have vineyards in England, and then it got the climate cooled down. They couldn't have vineyards there anymore. Now you can grow grapes again. So like we're right back to where we were 2,000 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I just think that this whole, no one in the history of mankind could ever drive an SUV again. And guess what? The temperature is still going to warm up. There's like nothing we can do about it.
And you know what? Next year it may be cold as hell. Nothing we can do about it because weather's weather and Mother Nature's Mother Nature. It's just that simple. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
Mark,
it's
here
also
in Florida,
El
go ahead.
Nino too is part of the reason why it's so warm.
Yeah, but that's an invented thing too. But you know something? You can be here in Florida, and I can be sitting outside on my front porch, and it can be storming across the street, and there won't be a drop of water on my side of the road. Be 70 over on there and 90 on my side of the street. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's weather. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a denier, but I'm just one of these people that doesn't see all the. I don't know.
Well, it's like anything that happens. Oh, there's a forest fire. Oh,
Yeah.
climate change. Oh, there's a flood. Oh, climate change. Oh, there's this. Oh, climate change. Oh, there's that. Oh, climate change.
Well, and you know something, the California, I don't think that the United States people should be responsible to take care of the land management practices of California. California does not burn their underbrush. If you drive through that state, they'll have a palm tree, which is absolutely the most ignition. That's almost like having a match in a thing of gas if it gets hot, a palmetto frond. And they don't trim the trees, they don't clean the underbrush out. And every year the state burns. And every year the insurance companies pay out to build new houses. And all you have to do is clean out the underbrush and it'll stop happening. Logical, but then you've got to go in there and mess with the trees.
Yeah. Yeah,
look at it. If you ever drive through California, it's a mess, and it's because of that. They won't clean the trees and they won't clean the underbrush, so it burns every year.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just I don't know. It's just one of the irrational things that's going on. Oh, speaking of that, what's his face? Devin Archer is testifying today, so that's going to put more nails in the coffin of Biden if the dude actually shows up and testifies.
Did you see the DOJ on Saturday sent a letter to the judge requesting him to go ahead and put him in jail for his fraud case? That he needs to go ahead and report to the jail now instead of Monday or later on. Did you see that?
I did, dude, and that's just so pathetic. It's like they're not even trying. Let's see if
they're trash. They're complete trash, and it's just it's not right.
Here we go. What a coincidence. DOJ can't sink any lower, and it's so like, oh, okay, well, whatever. Oh, you're going to testify? Oh, we're going to arrest you, So let him go to jail. Let him testify from jail. That would
Mark,
be.
I don't understand why we don't have why this isn't being considered treason.
Well, it should be.
It is treason. It is treason. He should be lined up. They should take those people. Every one of these people involved is not a patriot to the United States of America people. And they deserve to not be in power. And when you elect people like this, you get what you get.
Well, you know what, dude? Biden is a sleazebag, and his son is a sleazebag. There's an old saying: "The apple does not fall far from the tree."
Absolutely.
Right? Think about this guy Hunter. Okay, he's doing the nasty with his dead brother's wife. Like, did they have enough? Like, what is this guy like? Robert Kennedy here? Like,
he's just classy,
with Jackie Onassis. I mean. He is a grown man. He's 53 years old. He's got daughters, and he takes pictures of himself smoking crack with prostitutes. This is not a nice guy. This is not a guy that like goes to church every Sunday and works for charities. He's a sleazebag. And Why is it that when he goes to court, he gets a he gets a motorcade? Like who is he? Why does he have a motorcade? Why does he have, I counted 6 SUVs in his motorcade. Like, why does he get that? But anyway, hopefully this dude Devin Archer will put the nails in the coffin, because we really got to get this sleaze bag out of there. And it's just a disgrace it's just a disgrace to our country. It's like he doesn't even take the stairs to the top of the plane anymore. Now they got him going on the stairs to the bottom of the plane. It's like, I don't know, dude, maybe if you can't walk up 30 stairs, you should probably retire and maybe not be president. And then look at what's his name, Mitch McConnell, just kind of that was scary watching
Oh,
that.
dude, he had a stroke right there. I don't care who says it. He locked up. He was like, that was bad.
And then what's her face from California? Who's the senator who's like
Barbara
90?
Boxer.
Yeah, so like she's on the floor and they're asking for her vote, and she starts talking about all this other stuff, and one of her assistants got caught on the hot mic saying, like, just say aye, just say aye. It's like, wow. But you know what? You become a senator, it's like guaranteed wealth. So I guess they don't like to retire.
That's
All right.
it.
Anyway, so this is another thing that we got to watch here. The financials have stalled out. So think about it. You got healthcare stalling out, you got financial stalling out, and you got tech testing support. This is, we could be setting up for potentially a big move lower. I mean, sometimes things are neutral. Sometimes you kind of don't know what's going to happen, but you have the 3 biggest sectors at the market, which by weighting are probably over 50% of the market. And they all, kind of look a little bit vulnerable. I mean, if you look here, we don't want to get like that, like really precise, but I mean, we're lower now than since July. It's the lowest we've been since July 23rd. So that's a month, or not a month. Sorry, that's about 2 weeks. Wait, I'm pulling a, what did Biden call that guy? The lying soldier boy, or
Dog face pony soldier.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was in a lot of bands, right? And I told my friends, if we ever form a new band, that's going to be our name, Dog Face Pony Soldiers. Oh man, it's funny. All right, so anyway, so that's looking a little bit precarious. The consumer discretionary sector is looking kind of precarious as well, right? We're below resistance here. And what happens is, a lot of times when you get to resistance, you get these reversals. All right. And why would something get to resistance and then reverse? And the answer is, going back to our psychology. You have investors who want to sell, and they're watching the market go higher, right? And then all of a sudden, they notice it's not going higher anymore. Now, why does a market go higher? It goes higher because there's not enough supply to fill all of the demand. So the buyers are forced to be willing to pay premiums, and this forces an uptrend. When we get up to a resistance level, the tide turns, and all of a sudden there is enough supply to fill all of the demand, so the price stops going higher. So you got these investors are watching the market move higher, or traders, or whoever, and they notice the market's not moving higher anymore. So they assume correctly, oh, gee, there must be new sellers coming into the market. And then they start to get worried that they may miss out, because if there's someone who's willing to sell at a lower price, that's who the buyers are going to go to. So sellers start to get worried that they're not going to be able to sell. So they start to reduce the prices that they're willing to sell at. And this causes a snowball effect. And this is why you get these downtrends. So here, we get to resistance, sellers get worried, snowball effect. Here, we get to support. Now, why would resistance become support? Well, we talked about that before, because we have seller's remorse, right? People that sold, and when the price goes higher, they want to buy their shares back. But it's the opposite now. When a market's going lower, there's not enough demand or buyers to absorb all of the supply, or sellers. So you get these investors who want to buy, and all of a sudden they notice, oh, gee, the price isn't going lower anymore. Oh, there must be new buyers coming into the market. I better raise the price I'm willing to pay, because the sellers are going to go to whoever is willing to pay the highest price. So then you get the buyers start to outbid each other, and you get this snowball effect. So if you're a trader, this is like, trading 101. When things get to resistance or support, they tend to reverse. And the reason why has to do with this investor psychology. It's not because of, the debt ceiling or whatever they're talking about on CNN. Like right here when we had this bounce. Now, I don't remember what happened. This was last September, but I would guarantee you that if you put on Bloomberg TV, which is really, God, this is just like so bad, dude. It's like, can't they hire anyone who doesn't have a British accent on Bloomberg? You know what I mean? It's like they hire people with British accents because I think Americans hear a British accent and they think, oh, this person must be smart, for some reason.
That's why they got Stuart Varney on Fox, but Stuart doesn't seem to know a whole lot.
I like Varney. I like he would say, it's like, hey, you're all right. But I think he's probably one of the worst in the sense of trying to attribute every single little move to news. It's like, President Biden sneezed and the market reversed. It's like it was up 5 basis points and now it's down 5 basis points. People, as far as I know, at least in the institutional world, are not sitting around watching the news saying, oh, let's buy or let's sell. It's like, you don't even listen to the news. I mean, you got your strategies ahead of time. So it creates this kind of myth or this misunderstanding amongst people that whenever there's a move, it's got to be due to some fundamental or some news story. And most of the time it's not. So I would be willing to bet that on these particular days, the market had a decent move higher here. So this is up 3% on this day, September 7th. And they were probably like, oh, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of that. It's because of inflation or deflation or blah, 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 blah. And by the way, everybody, inflation is still going up. It's just going up at less of a rate. So when they talk about, I'm bringing down inflation, it's like prices are still going up, dude. And all you got to do is go to the grocery store to see it. But anyway, as a trader, I would say, who the hell cares about the news? This is a psychological thing here. This is buyers outbidding each other.
I don't know. You know what? I believe you can pull a policy on anybody you want to pull a policy on, as long as you pay a premium.
Man, I saw my father this weekend, and he's, he claims he's a Republican, but he's really a Democrat. And I was just like, Dad, this guy Biden has been getting payoffs for 50 years, and it's finally catching up with him. And I just hope he lives long enough and has the mental coherentness to realize what a disgrace he is, when it all starts to go down. And I also think too, the way, Benedict people, there are people that will say like, oh, they know Benedict Arnold. Oh, if you call someone a Benedict Arnold, they're a traitor. All right. I think that in the future, the word Biden will become a term like, oh, he's a real Biden. They're a real Biden, which is just going to stand for crookedness and corruption. His name is going to become synonymous with that. And, it's true, man. This dude, I mean, come on, the guy's a public servant, and yet he has 3 estates. Like, where does he get all these tens of millions of dollars to buy these estates?
Mark, he is a selfish person that cares only for himself. He doesn't care what happens after he dies, because this is his one time around the he's only taken so many times around the storm. Yeah. I mean,
he claims to be a big people, Catholic, but he's pro-abortion. I mean,
so is Nancy. Nancy's a big Catholic, but she'll kill a baby in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I just think that, it's just like lying, and it's just disgraceful. But anyway, it looks like karma is catching up. But if Hunter Biden is really the smartest person he's ever known, and he loves him so much, why is he pimping him out around the world to get all this money? And what could even really happen is maybe Hunter turns on his father. Maybe Hunter comes out and spills the goods. Because think about it. Why would this dude forget his computer? It's almost like he's got this like subconscious thing where he hates his father and he wants to bring him down. So
I think, man, listen, you've got some serious thought behind that strategy, but I honestly believe he just was too jacked up on coke to care.
Did you see the video of him driving his Porsche at like 170 miles an hour while he's smoking crack?
Yes.
God, that's just like no normal human being would do that.
Well, I don't know where the adults are that took over after the deplorables lost the White House. I mean, the damn adults are not doing a good job.
It's just I don't know. It's as someone who reads a lot about history, it's really just kind of disgraceful. I was reading last night about a guy whose last name was Valindenheim, I think, and he was head of the Peace Democrats in the Civil War. And what they wanted to do was, people don't realize this, but during the Civil War, Lincoln was very unpopular, and there was a big movement to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. And if the Union didn't take Atlanta, he probably would have lost at the elections, and he would be considered a terrible president. But the Peace Democrats, remember, Lincoln was a Republican. He's the father of the Republican Party. The Peace Democrats wanted the war to end. So anyway, the leader of their party was like really speaking out against Lincoln or whatever. And Lincoln put the guy in jail. I mean, they didn't have habeas corpus. So the guy actually ran for the presidency from jail. I mean, he lost, but it's just a pretty interesting. It just shows you how history repeats itself. There's like nothing new under, like it says in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, here's oil. I think this is kind of interesting here. This is a where is my little thing here? So oil is up about 20% in a month. So this is kind of big, and this is it's not overbought. It's just kind of a slow. Maybe it's a little bit overbought, but we're probably going to hit some resistance around here, 82, because we can see that the level that was support turned into resistance. Now, why would support turn into resistance? Well, buyer's remorse, right? There's people who bought here who, when the price went lower, told themselves, "Man, I made a mistake. I want to get out, but I don't want to lose any money. So if it gets back up to my level, I'm going to get out at break even." So buyer's remorse can turn support into resistance. As we saw before, buyer's remorse can also keep resistance for an extended period of time. People bought here, price goes lower. It's the same kind of a thing. All right, if it gets back up to my price, I'm going to sell so I get out at break even. So when we get back up to those levels, you have remorseful buyers trying to sell. So buyer's remorse can turn support into resistance. Buyer's remorse can keep levels that were resistance intact for a while. That's when we look at these charts, it's got to really look at them through the prism of what does it tell us about psychology. If you don't do that, you're just not going to understand this stuff. Like if you don't understand psychology, you're not going to be able to explain why is there resistance at a level that was resistance before. And think about this. This is the oil market. We're talking about trillions of dollars here around the world. We got all these like oil freighters out there, and, all these drills and this, that, and the other thing. And yet somehow we get these really, really clear levels. And it's people take it for granted, but I mean, like how does it happen? But if you look at a chart, you can see that it does. We got clear support. We got clear resistance up here. Anyway, I think that's something to keep an eye on because that's obviously inflationary. And going back to this whole inflation thing, it's like people think, oh, wow, look at this. Could be our breakout in copper that we've been waiting for here. Inflation is not coming down. It's still going up. It's just going up at a slower rate. So, it's still going up. And it's so bad because it's self-induced. I mean, in the 70s, we had we had inflation because of OPEC and oil embargoes. And, we have inflation now because of too much stimulus spending and energy policy. And so it's kind of self-induced. And it's so sad when it's like, all right, well, hey, our energy policy made oil go from $30 to $100 a barrel. Oh, I'm going to let some of the strategic oil preserves or petroleum preserves out. That's my way of fighting inflation. So it's almost like, all right, you go and you light a house on fire. And then you get a fire extinguisher and you try to start putting it out, and people give you credit, like, "Oh, he's fighting the fire." You know.
Hey, pull up DBC for the month of July. Look at it. Look at the run. So
Well,
$2, almost $3 in a month.
DBC is an ETF which tracks inflation. Let's see. Yeah, I mean this is because this is mostly oil,
Yeah.
so it's not surprising because oil affects everything. You know, energy is in everything. Look around the room you're in right now. It's like everything that's in the room you're in was in a truck at one point. So oil goes higher, gas goes higher. You know, it makes the price of everything go higher. But anyway, this is kind of interesting here because we've been talking about a potential breakout in copper, and it looks like we're getting it here. And here we have clear resistance right around this three. I don't know. Let's just call it. Actually, let's see exactly what it is. Oops, sorry about that.
Well, you got some happy birds over there, Mark.
Yeah, 393. Yeah, I love listening to them. It's and you know if you really listen to them, you can hear it's like this like one species of bird. Well, not species, but one type of bird. You know, they all have their different chirping sounds. Will chirp, and then you hear off in the distance like another one that's the same kind of a bird, like giving the same call, and it's almost like they're kind of like talking to each other. So it's pretty cool. And then every now and then we get a hawk fly in the backyard here, and all the other birds gang up like a team, and they like chase the hawk away.
Oh yeah.
Birds are smart, man. I mean, they really are. All right. So anyway, you got this resistance here around 393, where people were kind of just hanging out, but you got these higher lows forming. So think about this: as time is passing from April till now, you got these sellers who have kind of just stayed at their level, but buyers are getting more aggressive, and that's you can see that because these lows are forming at higher price levels. These are what we call higher lows. Higher lows show that we have aggressive buyers. So you got complacent sellers and you got aggressive buyers, sets the stage for a move higher. This is what we call the ascending triangle pattern. All right. So ascending triangle patterns and descending triangle patterns, descending is the opposite. We got aggressive sellers and complacent buyers. Here we got complacent sellers and aggressive buyers. But think about it. You get aggressive buyers, you get complacent sellers, sets the stage for a move higher. Now, when we get a move higher like this, assuming it holds, and my guess is that it will, it tells us that the sellers have finished the mark or finished, or they're out of the way, whichever. They either cancel their orders or they finish their orders. But when you take sellers or you take supply off of a market, what does that do? Well, buyers are forced to pay higher prices because there's not a lot of sellers around. So they got to be willing to pay a premium. So this is what we call, or this is why a lot of times a breakout is a bullish thing. So, you know, we've talked about this. There's copper ETFs. There's what is it? COPX is the ETF.
Yeah, COPX, and then there's SSC or SCCO if you're going to do the company.
Yeah. So if you don't buy copper, or if you're not a futures trader, you know, you can get exposure to this from here. This is a copper miners ETF. You can get exposure from
SCCO.
That's one of my guinea pig there. Walker, Texas, wrote it. He's very talkative.
You got some good names as you come up with those guinea pigs, man. Dr. Puffenstein, Walker, Texas Road. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I love guinea pigs, man. They're cute. They're really smart too. They're way smarter than people realize. I think all animals are probably smarter than people realize.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So so here's Southern Copper, and notice how it hit resistance back here, and now it's clearing it. So this is up this morning in the pre-market because copper is up. So one of the things we talk about a lot here at Stock Market Jobber is that, you know, we talk about commodities, but even if you don't trade futures, you shouldn't worry because you can get exposure to commodities through ETFs, through stocks. So, you know, I mean, I would say it looks to me like copper is going higher. So if copper goes higher, then this is going to go higher. COPX. So here is your exposure, or here's your way to get exposure to copper.
Which
All right,
that's
let's go
also
over here.
inflationary as well, isn't it? Since copper's used in everything.
Yeah, copper is a good indicator of inflation. And I actually started, writing about inflation back in August of 20. And the reason why was because copper was so much up so much.
Mm-hmm.
So copper is a good indicator of inflation. So you got copper going higher, you got oil going higher. It looks to me like we're going to take another round of inflation. And to me, the equity markets look pretty weak. All right, let's go see what's going on in the news here before I get going.
Hey, what about wheat, Mark? We're about a week since they started blowing up the silos in Odessa and whatever the other city is. Has it moved? Wow,
Uh,
not really.
been going down.
So wouldn't you expect it for them if they're blowing up the wheat and they're sinking the ships that are taking the wheat out of the area, and that's 25% of the world's wheat supply? Shouldn't that be going up?
One would think, but that's probably more of a longer term thing. The short term things are moved by just trading. So maybe it's like kind of a buy on the rumor, sell on the news type thing.
Gotcha.
Uh, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe other places of the world have increased their wheat production. Uh, I don't know, but I do know charts. And look at this. Look at where we found
Mhm.
resistance. So despite the news and whatever is going on, and you got this huge market. Guess what? We find resistance at the exact same level that we were at resistance a month ago. And this is our psychology. People that bought here, market goes lower, they tell themselves, I made a mistake, I want to get out. So you got this, it's the same thing that happens in stocks that we just looked at. This is wheat. But when we look at these charts, we're looking at a graphical illustration of human psychology. And we have humans trading various things. So here we're looking at the psychology of wheat traders, not stock traders, right? Right to the exact precise level. I think that, it's if you get too caught up with the news, it's going to, and you try to like associate all the moves with like what's going on in the news, you're going to just drive yourself crazy because
Mhm.
in the short term, stuff is disconnected from the macro picture. Now, if there's a wheat shortage, that'll show up eventually, but in the short term, we're just talking about trading. And this is kind of an interesting story here too. China has deflation. Now, deflation is bad. Deflation is when prices go lower. We're talking about inflation is slowing down, but prices are still going up. And inflation in and of itself is not a bad thing. We actually want inflation. The government wants to have about 2% inflation because when the economy is expanding, it's inflationary because there's more demand for money. People want to borrow money, start businesses or whatever. So we want inflation. It's just when inflation gets too high that it's a bad thing. Now, deflation is the opposite. Deflation is when prices go lower. And that might sound like a good thing, but it's not. Because when prices start to go lower, what happens? Companies start to lose money. And one of the reasons why we had the Great Depression is because we had all this increased productivity in the agricultural markets. And that caused there to be gluts of these commodities. Like think about it. So you're a farmer out in Iowa, and it's 1905, and you got your mule and you got your wagon, right? Now it's 1920, and all of a sudden, what do you have? You have a tractor, you have a truck. They're starting to pave the roads. So you have so much increased productivity, you're bringing a lot more stuff to the market. And what does that do? That decreases prices. And then what the farmers did was they just produced more and more and more because they were selling it for less and less and less. So that deflation is one of the main reasons why we had the Great Depression. So this is kind of interesting here too. I'm going to have to review this, and maybe I'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow.
Did you see the video that I sent you on the Federal Reserve, Mark, the black and white one from Periscope Films?
No. When did you send that?
It was over the weekend. I want to say it was like Friday afternoon or something, but I was watching it. It was an actually really well put together video, and it was an educational video from back in the 50s, but it was fantastic. I sent it to you already, but hopefully you got
Okay,
it.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that on my things to do list here. All right. Hello, JTI. Mr. Steven is here.
Welcome, Joseph.
Hello, Joseph Swanson. Good morning. All right. So anyway, yeah. So deflation is not a good thing, and deflationary spell would mean weaker Chinese demand. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in China. My brother's an investment banker, and he knows a lot about real estate. He was telling me that someone who he knows who's a real estate banker was talking about how China is just in such a bubble. And you've probably seen the videos of the ghost cities where they like have all these cities that are they've totally built up, but like no one lives there.
Yeah, it was Evergrande last year when they started coming apart, or a year and a half ago, I believe.
So I like to every now and then I'll look at well, I probably look at it every day, but FXI. This is a China large cap ETF, and this is actually look at that. It's actually doing pretty well. And this could be your breakout. Remember, resistance, although it's not very well defined here, but resistance is this large group of sellers, and when we get above the resistance, it tells us that the sellers have left the market. And when you take or they've either canceled their orders or maybe they finished their orders. But when you take sellers or when you take supply out of a market, what happens? Well, the people that want to buy have to be willing to pay a premium. If a market is trading sideways and we're in a trading range, the buyers can buy all they want. They don't need to worry about pushing the price up. It's in equilibrium. There's enough supply to fill all the demand. Now, if you take a lot of that supply away, well, all of a sudden now the buyers can't buy all they want. They have to be willing to pay a premium or above the current market in order to entice sellers off of the sidelines. And that's what causes an uptrend. When markets are going higher, we're out of equilibrium. There's not enough supply to fill the demand. When markets are going lower, it's the opposite. There's not enough demand to absorb all of the supply. When markets are going sideways, and this doesn't really seem to go sideways that often, but let's see here. When markets are going sideways like this, well, we're in equilibrium. Supply and demand are equal. So sellers can come in here, they can sell all they want. They don't have to worry about pushing down the price. Buyers can come in and buy all they want. They don't have to worry about pushing up the price. When we get into a situation like this, well, say you come into the market with a big order, you got to sell. Well, this thing trades 30 million shares a day. But let's just say you come in with a big order, you got to sell 5 million shares and it's at 28. Well, you might not be able to sell all your shares at 28. You might have to sell 100,000 there or 200,000. The next 100 or 200,000, you might need to sell at 27.85. There's just not enough buyers around. So you need to be willing to offer your shares at a discount to get buyers interested. Remember, when we look at charts, we're looking at illustrations of supply and demand and investor psychology. Yeah, so this is actually looks, I don't trade this, but I do keep an eye on it. But that's pretty interesting there. All right, everybody. Let me know if you all have any questions. If not, I got to go get ready for my 9 o'clock call. Well, let me just see if there's any more news that's worth watching here.
Hey, did you see the story this morning? It came out very early on the illegal bioweapons lab or the bio lab that they found in California that was making COVID-19 tests, unsanctioned, unregulated, in an abandoned warehouse. I'm telling you, I'll find the video again and send it to you in a few minutes.
Like who is doing it? It sounds like a biker gang, like have crystal meth.
It was called a Protogen testing or something like that, but they were a Chinese-based company.
No, I have not heard about that.
I'll see if I can find that and get that to you. I'll send it over to you in a few minutes. If not, I'll share it tomorrow, guys, with you, so you'll see it if you don't find it.
Look, it's
crazy. Guy. What happened? They found a garden hose sticking out the backside of this building, and the building inspectors were going by, and they said this place is abandoned. They shouldn't have a garden hose sticking out the back. They go in there, no employees. They find thousands of rats in a cage, a couple hundred of them dead already. They find like 30 freezers with biohuman waste in it and different things. They were making COVID-19 tests, pregnancy tests, and some other tests in this abandoned warehouse so that they could package them and sell them to us.
Well, that's got to be some kind of organized crime. I don't think that just a regular person could do that.
No, I would say it's an organized organization that's done it and probably been doing it. And none of the people that were doing the testing were certified to do, any kind of laboratory testing at all.
Well, look at this Connecticut mansion. So let's see where this is. I wonder if this is in Greenwich, because in Greenwich, where I'm from, you see a lot of houses like this. Not that I ever lived in one.
God, super.
Okay, so this is in Fairfield. This is up
that show is that show's terrible, and it made that much money.
What's that?
Supernatural made that much money for that kid to buy that kind of house.
I don't know. I've never seen that show.
That show's about as cheesy as it comes.
Well, it just goes to show you, dude, it's better to be lucky than to be smart. And that's what the world is these days. I mean, wow, look at that. That's pretty
That is beautiful.
Oh, you know what this is over here? This is Country Club of Fairfield. I've never played there, but I've heard that that's the best course in Connecticut. It's like a links course. See over here?
Yeah.
Country Club of Connecticut.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, Country Club of Fairfield. So I gotta figure out a way to get on there and play somehow. My brother was supposed to play there once, but then it rained. So they canceled. But yeah, see all this over here? Now this is some prime ass property, dude. That golf course there, you could sell that land for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. Wow.
But anyway, yeah, so these old houses here, you can tell the real estates always have this upstairs, like where the servants live up here.
Yeah.
Butlers. Well, now my grandfather was the caretaker of an estate in Greenwich, that's why I grew up in Greenwich, and the mansion was about this size, and they had a butler, they had all kinds of maids, but yeah, it's pretty wild. But anyway, it puts me in the mood to play golf, but I have too much work to do. But yeah, it'd be pretty nice to live in a house like that.
Hey guys, listen, thanks for joining us today. You're going to find out that Mark is dead spot on with the market. If you join us every day at 8 o'clock, you'll be ahead of the market as well.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much, and I will see you all tomorrow morning.
Have a great day, guys.